a woman had 5 beast husbands, yet never consummated with any of them, only because the man she deeply loved had entered the marriage hall with her best friend. The woman began frantically accepting beast husbands out of comparison, but felt none compared to her former love, so she began venting by torturing her beast husbands, not only hanging the Wolf King General on a tree to whip him, the Black Snake Beauty was even cut off his tail and thrown into prison. Even the Dragon Prince with golden scales had his scales plucked before being sold at auction in the black market. At this moment, Shili, who was brought in by the system to take over, looking at the White Wolf King locked in iron chains before her, wanted to slap herself, cursing the original host for wasting such treasures. Such an extraordinarily handsome man not properly enjoyed, but tortured instead. Looking at Heggie's face, handsome to a devastating degree, Shili anxiously snatched the keys from the guard and unlocked all the chains restricting Heggie. After being released, Heggie showed no gratitude, but instead transformed into half-beast form and pushed her down. Looking at Heggie before her, Shili almost drooled. She was a woman who loved handsome men like life itself, although the system had killed her in the original world. But this beast world where females were scarce and had extremely high status was truly wonderful. She was originally an orphan, and after seeing such beast husbands, her attachment to the original world had all but disappeared. Quickly accepting this identity, ignoring the pain from being pushed down, she immediately entered the role. Listen to my explanation. Before I must have been out of my mind, now I understand. What I did before was wrong. Divorce, your sweet talk doesn't work on me, let's divorce today. Heggie could no longer tolerate Shili's tyranny. This time she even threatened his family to torture him. Wolves are pack animals, even though beast men had evolved. They still retained their nature. Family was always an important existence to him, especially since Heggie was of White Wolf King bloodline, with an innate responsibility to protect his family. But after divorce you'll be punished, even unable to work again, with no way to survive. Isn't living with you punishment enough? Heggie's eyes full of desolation. As the youngest general in history, he should have had a bright future, ultimately ruined by this female before him. No army would be willing to recruit a male who had divorced. They would believe someone unfaithful to his wife would be even more unfaithful to the country. I will change, Shili's eyes full of sincerity. At this moment she felt the system brought her to this world to save these people. Change? Until the end of the world you won't change. Heggie finally couldn't suppress his inner rage, stepped quickly to Shili and lifted her up. An extremely loud sound. Heggie's cheek was kissed by Shili, leaving a red mark. For a moment the surrounding guards were dumbfounded. Heggie's state changed from bristling with anger to suddenly blushing, completely petrified. The wife actually kissed him. Clearly from marriage until now, if he touched her hand she would frantically wash it. Now she actually took the initiative to kiss him. Heggie froze and released her, still wanting to scold her, but found his brain had crashed. Were female lips always this soft? And that faint fragrance on her body. With his sensitive sense of smell, he couldn't identify what scent it was. The body he accidentally touched was also unbelievably soft. Things he had never experienced before, surprisingly intoxicating. I swear to heaven I will really change, and agree to let you return to the army. As long as you can come home to see me when you're free. Shili sincerely wanted to compensate her beast husbands. Before, following the original host, they lived terrible days. Abuse, threats, confinement, not even allowing them to continue working in their original positions. Females had the right to decide whether to let beast husbands return to work. Some females with many beast husbands would selectively let some quit their jobs to stay home and take care of them. Heggie was really worried he would be asked to resign. After all, Shili's first 4 beast husbands' dowries alone were enough for her to spend several lifetimes. When people in the army learned he had been chosen by a female, directly arranged by the king, everyone showed regretful expressions, and today was the last deadline to return to post. Unexpectedly, Shili actually let him return to the army. Heggie felt for a moment like he was dreaming. If he could return to the army, maybe this marriage wasn't necessary. But Shili's previous behaviors made him feel she was lying. I'll allow you to go back now. Saying this, she put the home magnetic card into Heggie's pocket, looking at him with sincere eyes. Heggie immediately took the magnetic card and rushed out of the confinement room straight to the main door, which really opened. He was free. Heggie looked at Shili in surprise. She didn't cry and make a scene as usual when seeing him leave. Instead, looked at him with some gratification. I will apply to the army to return home every day. Seeing Shili truly had no intention of changing her mind, Heggie also made a compromise. After sending Heggie away, Shili suddenly felt a bit bored. That broken system gave her advanced spiritual comfortability then completely disappeared. Immediately, she continued receiving the original host's memories, and it was quite something. None of the 5 beast husbands were spared, and even now one was still missing. The key question now was whether to go to the black market auction to save the dragon, or first to the underground prison to save the snake. Feeling that whichever one was delayed might be troublesome, after thinking it through, she decided to go to the auction first. After all, the snake in prison wouldn't run away, but the dragon might really be bought by someone else if delayed. Quickly running out the door, she found she didn't know how to use the transportation tools here, and the original host had barely ever gone out. My God, do you have urgent business? At this moment, an expensive-looking car slowly descended from above. Please take me to the black market. It's rare to see such a noble female exposed on the road. It's my honor to have you in my car. It's no trouble. Soon they arrived at the entrance of the black market. She had thought the black market would be like a street alley, a gathering place for small-time thugs, but it turned out to be very luxurious. The moment Shili entered, everyone consciously made way. Even an attendant walked up nervously. "My beautiful goddess, what would you like to purchase? To come to such a place in person? Are the guards assigned by the Female Protection Association not dutiful enough?" The attendant fearfully guided her to a separate, luxurious private room. This gave Shili a new understanding of females in this world. Shili said to the attendant, "I'm looking for someone. His name is Jensen. He's my beast husband." Shili nervously fiddled with her fingers, not sure if this fit the auction house rules. The attendant looked at Shili in shock. Beast husbands being sold by their wives when displeased was common. But this was the first time seeing a wife regret it. Until seeing Jensen's tall figure confined in a narrow iron cage. Shili's regret reached its peak. If only she could have crossed over earlier. Now left with a mess to clean up. So many men to comfort, truly troublesome. Although at a distance from the iron cage, she could still see the bloodstains on Jensen's half-beast form tail, and the scales plucked by the original host. Walking forward before she could speak, Shili was directly pinned to the ground by the released Jensen. The surroundings erupted in exclamations. Some called for guards. The braver ones went to pull at Jensen. "All of you get out, we need to talk privately." Looking at the suddenly enlarged handsome face, Shili swallowed. Jensen's eyes were now full of hatred, making Shili gasp, feeling he might transform into beast form and devour her alive. "Let's go home. Give me a chance to make it up to you." "Home, damn it. I'll go to your grandmother's home." Jensen squeezed Shili's throat and unleashed his anger. "Is this what you promised about treating me well? I gave up my royal status. And you play these games?" Jensen's breathing became heavy with anger. As a golden dragon, Jensen was originally a prince of the royal family. If he wanted to keep his royal status, he either had to marry a princess from another planet, or marry a noble. Unfortunately, Jensen's temper was too explosive. Being rejected multiple times, he began to self-destruct. That's how he crossed paths with the malevolent original host. But Shili's family were just ordinary inherited ministers, so Jensen naturally could no longer retain his prince status. At that time, the original host's beloved was also newly married to her good friend. The two thus absurdly flash-married. Jensen once truly believed the original host was his redemption. One could say of the 5 beast husbands, the only one who had ever loved the original host was Jensen. With her throat grabbed, Shili felt she couldn't breathe, her hand struggling to remove his hand, feeling she would be strangled to death. Suddenly, Jensen's pupils became more red. Though she had never controlled mental power, Shili knew Jensen was about to go berserk. Jensen's fingers gradually hardened, claws seeming ready to snap her neck with just a little force. "Didn't you say we would talk privately? Why aren't you speaking now?" Shili was completely pinned down, facing the threat of death. At this moment, the terminal on her wrist emitted a red alert. This was a special alarm installed by the Protection Association to protect female safety, monitoring their vital signs in real time. When Shili sorted through this memory, she was both amazed at the advanced technology and chilled. They were treasured like precious things, yet constantly monitored. "Since you're still thinking about that guy, let's all not lie, go to hell with me." He didn't understand why, despite his efforts, Shili's eyes only saw that damn man. The strong alarm and footsteps outside didn't intimidate Jensen, but made him more frantic. "Release her quickly, or we'll shoot." The soldiers who rushed in quickly surrounded the two. Facing the threat, Jensen sneered disdainfully. Married life had nearly driven him insane. Dying swiftly would be a kind of relief. "No." Shili weakly spoke to stop them. Jensen suddenly felt darkness envelop him, his whole body wrapped in a warm, soft light. Shili stared at the tangled neural bundle in the mind sea that resembled a messy ball of yarn, sinking into thought. This must be the super comfort ability the system mentioned before disappearing. So comfort meant untangling the yarn ball in the mind sea. Shili examined this yarn ball and decided to start untangling it, but as soon as her fingers touched a thread, it wrapped around her finger as if alive, momentarily brushing against her entire body before reluctantly disappearing into the black mind sea. Shili felt the threads took all her strength, her eyelids growing heavy, but she couldn't sleep. If she fell asleep, they would surely not spare Jensen. "Don't lock him up." Shili jolted awake, feeling she had broken out in a cold sweat, but the scene before her was unfamiliar. "Shili, you're finally awake. The Protection Association found me, said you were injured in the hospital. I was so scared. The woman before her was none other than that good friend He Bye-Bye." "What about Jensen?" Shili had no mood to deal with He Bye-Bye, only concerned if Jensen had been locked up. "You still mention him. It was absolutely terrifying. This is the first time I've seen a half-transformed beast man." He Bye-Bye didn't answer directly, just covered her mouth with a horrified expression. This affected Green Tea's tone. Shili really wanted to vomit. "Shili, isn't it better to be one life, one world, one pair? Look at your many beast husbands. What's become of them? See how harmoniously Ferdinand and I get along." He Bye-Bye was speaking enthusiastically. When the hospital door was pushed open by a stranger, until the man raised his head, Shili recognized who he was. Wasn't this the original host's beloved? Seeing the original host's beloved, Shili was somewhat confused. Ferdinand and Jensen were half-brothers from different fathers, though also with decent features, but with Jensen around, why obsess over the already married Ferdinand? Moreover, Jensen was the more auspicious golden dragon. Ferdinand was of the common ink dragon bloodline. The original host truly treated treasures like trash. Ferdinand entered with a gentle manner, rubbed Bye-Bye's head, but his eyes stared directly at Shili in the hospital bed, while Bye-Bye nestled in Ferdinand's arms, not noticing his eyes weren't on her at all. Shili was a bit confused. Her inheritance of the original host's memories was limited, not understanding why Ferdinand was staring at her this way. Seeing Shili with no reaction, Ferdinand showed a puzzled expression. By the way, Shili, you have 5 beast husbands already. When are you planning to have a baby? You're not always using protection. Still thinking about my husband, are you? Bye-Bye suddenly put away her affectionate manner, looking at Shili with a hint of threat. But Shili was truly wronged. From the memories, she hadn't done anything substantial with any of the 5 beast husbands, yet had the reputation of a lustful female, without enjoying any actual benefits. Bye-Bye, go ask the nurse when observation is needed. I'm a bit tired and want to sit. Ferdinand suddenly changed the topic. After speaking, he affectionately kissed her. Bye-Bye was deceived by this clumsy excuse and went out. Only Ferdinand and Shili remained in the hospital room. Shili felt extremely awkward, couldn't help turning her face to look out the window, somewhat worried about where Jensen had been taken. Just because I didn't come see you for 3 days, you throw a tantrum. Ferdinand actually sat directly on the hospital bed. Shili widened her eyes, not understanding what was happening. Still pretending with me? Is this some new playing hard to get trick you learned so naughty? Ferdinand interpreted Shili's actions as playing with him, reaching out to touch her face. Shili jumped off the bed, avoiding those lecherous hands. The current situation was either Ferdinand cheating in marriage, or the original host cheating in marriage. The plot and memories didn't match. Why were such important memories missing? Are you crazy? By seniority you should call me sister-in-law. Shili was about to explode. This beloved didn't have any of a beloved's noble qualities. Are you stupid? Since when are you so affectionate with my brother? To throw tantrums there should be limits. Shut up. Whatever we had before, that's all in the past. Don't say such nonsense. Ferdinand narrowed his eyes, suddenly feeling he couldn't understand Shili anymore. Before he thought Shili was easy to understand, just a somewhat rebellious girl who liked to compare herself with others. He enjoyed being able to casually control Shili's emotions. Just a small action would make her anxious. But now she kept mentioning his useless brother, which was truly annoying. What nonsense. Weren't those all the promises of love we made to each other? Ferdinand pressed closer, not believing someone could change so much overnight. I admit marrying Bye-Bye had a comparative element. After all, her family's title is higher than yours. But that doesn't affect us continuing our relationship, right? Didn't you say so yourself? Besides, what's good about my brother? Just an uneducated waste. Seeing him getting more carried away, Shili raised her hand and slapped him. Ferdinand touched his cheek in shock. Cheating on your wife by casually flirting with other females. You're truly shameless. Just for what you did today, I could send you to jail. She had thought the original host's beloved was some pure existence. Turns out just a madman controlled by jealousy. Shili directly opened the hospital room door to leave, but bumped into a solid chest. Looking up somewhat puzzled, she saw Heggie's somewhat gloomy face, still in his military uniform, having rushed over as soon as he got the news. But arriving at the hospital room door, he heard another man's voice inside, instantly feeling like a clown. Why are you here? Shili didn't realize that Heggie was already in an angry state, passing by after work, to see if you're thoroughly dead yet. Work? Shili looked at the time on her wrist terminal in surprise. I slept that long? Do you know where Jensen was taken? Long time no see, General. Ferdinand shamelessly walked over. Yes, Judge. Last time we met was during the Planet Criminal trial, Heggie said with a forced smile. Ferdinand naturally saw Heggie's displeasure, but didn't take him seriously at all. Just a young upstart who rose quickly in rank due to his bloodline and military achievements. How could he compare with someone of his background? Doesn't the judge need to accompany his own female? My female is sick, need to take her home to rest, no time to wander outside with you. Heggie hadn't heard all of the earlier conversation, but could tell Ferdinand had other intentions towards Shili. When I arrived, I already asked the doctor, said she could go home to rest, but your good friend seems to have other intentions with that doctor. I saw them chatting very happily. Saying this, Heggie bent down and directly picked up Shili, leaving Ferdinand alone in confusion. Until the two were out of sight, he realized what Bye-Bye might be doing in the doctor's office. Hurriedly ran towards the doctor's office. So where did Jensen go after all? He didn't attack me on purpose. Before Shili could finish, she was thrown onto the passenger seat. He won't die, but if you keep mentioning him, that might change. Even though he rushed anxiously to see Shili, she kept thinking about another man. Indeed, the more initiating, the less valued. The more he thought, the angrier he got, the whole car filled with low pressure. Shili was so frightened she didn't dare say a word. After all, Heggie's work was military, with jurisdiction over prisons. If she angered Heggie, Jensen might really die. The two drove to the front door. Heggie bent into the passenger side to carry her. Shili quickly refused, but Heggie ignored her, directly carrying her into the room. I have hands and feet, don't need you to carry me, you go busy with whatever you need to. Doesn't the wife know what her beast husband should be busy with at night? Saying this, he used force to completely pin Shili to the bed. Shili instantly blushed, pushing against Heggie's chest but couldn't move him at all. Shili felt her heart might jump out. Heggie didn't care, burying himself fiercely in Shili's neck. The warm sensation made Shili cry out, but just then the doorbell rang. "You get up quick? We have guests?" Heggie reluctantly released Shili, dissatisfied, licking his lips, such a nice fragrance. Opening the door, she saw a group of people in police uniforms standing there. This lineup directly startled Shili. "Noble lady, we are staff from the Female Protection Association. Because today your terminal detected you were in danger. We want to understand your current situation. What punishment do you plan for the beast husband who attacked you?" Still like the previous beast husband locked in the underground prison. Previous one, Shili's new memories couldn't quite keep up, she didn't react immediately. "Your previous beast husband, Alton, is now in the underground prison for attacking you." The staff showed Alton's photo. The terminal displayed a clean face, with gold-rimmed glasses on the bridge of his nose, but with those agile and mature features, Shili felt only one phrase could describe this Alton: a wolf in sheep's clothing. "So do I have the right to let them both come home now? I think we may have had some misunderstandings. If we talk about who suffered the longest torture from the original host, that would be Alton. After all, he was the first to marry the original host. The two were neighbors before, taking care of the young original host. Later naturally married under parents' arrangements, Alton also gave up his researcher job to stay home as a house husband. Now unexpectedly locked in prison by the original host, she suddenly found each of these beast husbands had their own tragic story. The staff thought they misheard. Given the extremely imbalanced male-female ratio in the interstellar, sometimes a planet might not even have 10 females, while two-legged males were everywhere. "I want them all to come home. It was my fault for being angry at the time. It's all my problem." Shili was somewhat worried. What if she didn't have the authority to release them? That would truly be a great sin. "You are truly a beautiful and kind noble female. We will send them to you as soon as possible." Hearing these praises, Shili's face grew redder, truly out of guilt. After sending away this large group of people, Shili felt her stomach growling, realizing she hadn't eaten since arriving in this world. Opening the refrigerator door, she found it full of various colored nutrient liquids. "Aren't there any proper foods?" "Isn't this proper food?" Heggie, emerging from the room, was a bit confused. "No vegetables or meat?" "These nutrient liquids look super difficult to drink." Shili fished out a bottle of pink liquid from the fridge, shook her head and put it back, thinking that 2 more people would be coming soon. Though just out of jail, she still wanted to prepare something good to eat, as a welcoming feast. Turning to Heggie, she asked, "Is there a place to buy vegetables, meat, and seasonings?" Her delicate hand tightly grasping his clothing at the chest. "There is, but it would be quite expensive." Heggie uncomfortably turned his face away, his ears turning suspiciously red, feeling Shili had suddenly changed. The previous Shili would never stick so close to him. "Then can you lend me some money first? I'll repay you when I have a job." "Isn't the money all in your terminal?" Scared silly today, Heggie was almost suspecting Shili had been replaced. Males after marriage have no right to continue controlling property. Otherwise, females couldn't work and would starve to death. To prevent this, after marriage, males' asset accounts are automatically linked to females' terminals. Shili opened the terminal and nearly fell over seeing those countless numbers. "What exactly are you planning?" Heggie helped Shili open the delivery interface on the terminal. "Of course, to cook for Jensen and Alton." The little female excitedly stared at the screen before her, carefully adding needed items to the shopping cart one by one. The interaction between Jensen and Shili, Heggie had seen for a few days. Indeed terrible, feeling if not for the Protection Association, Shili would have been torn into pieces long ago. As for what grudge Alton had with Shili, he wasn't clear, but he knew Alton was Shili's first beast husband. For things to reach this state, their grudge wouldn't be less than Jensen's. After placing the order, Shili excitedly rushed to the kitchen. Heggie's gaze followed Shili's footsteps toward the kitchen. "She can cook. Isn't she planning to directly poison those two?" worriedly followed up. Shili looked at the kitchen utensils, couldn't help silently complaining. Such a kitchen could only make simple meals. Seems at some point this kitchen would need renovation, otherwise cooking would be too restricted. The food arrived quickly. Heggie voluntarily placed the heavy bag on the table. Shili couldn't help getting excited. In her original world, she grew up in a welfare institution, always living frugally, with many foods she wanted but couldn't have. Now, her culinary skills learned from restaurant work finally had a place to shine. Then called Heggie to wash vegetables. But he indicated he really didn't like vegetables, especially leafy greens, but had no choice but to comply. Shili, starting to heat oil in the pan, felt Heggie watching from the side was like a time bomb, possibly suddenly pouncing to cover the pot, affecting her performance. So she drove him out of the kitchen, telling him to wait obediently on the sofa for dinner, looking at Shili busy in the kitchen, while he sat comfortably on the sofa waiting. At this moment, Heggie was very worried if this would get him arrested by the Female Protection Association. The doorbell rang again. Still those staff, after handing over the keys and people to Heggie, they left. Alton was still quite calm, just with a poor complexion. Jensen was completely agitated, even with chains still binding his hands. He took a quick step wanting to rush in and slaughter Shili. Heggie fiercely blocked him. "You've been drugged, weren't you wanting a divorce from the beginning of marriage? I'll be the bad guy. If she dies, you'd only be considered widowed." Without bearing the divorce penalty, seeing Heggie blocking him, Jensen couldn't believe it. At their wedding, Heggie had seemed desperate. At that time, Jensen had comforted him to stay calm, how now he stood on Shili's side. "If you want to kill her, Pick a time when none of us are around. You think her terminal is for show? Heggie didn't know what was wrong with himself, instinctively blocking Jensen. Guests have arrived, why not invite them in? Shili's little head suddenly poked out from Heggie's side. This peek made her regret it. She thought some guests had come, but it was these two great Buddhas being sent back. Why still locked up? Shouldn't the locks be removed before being sent back? The two men's faces even wore bite restraints. They said the decision is yours, saying this. Heggie handed over the keys. Unexpectedly, Shili pushed them back to him. You go unlock them, I have a soup inside. After unlocking, quickly wash hands and come eat. She wasn't stupid. Jensen's current expression showed he wanted to tear her apart. Saying this, she quickly returned to the kitchen. Looking at Shili's slender figure, wearing a somewhat clumsy butterfly knot, feet in fluffy home slippers, the three men's gazes followed her into the kitchen, suddenly feeling something soft in their hearts being touched. Jensen and Alton sat very awkwardly on the sofa, watching Shili alone bringing dishes from the kitchen to the table. Alton finally said his first words of the day. Is this some new android technology? Did Shili go pursue some true love again, directly abandoning this home? He had been in prison for nearly half a year. Couldn't help marveling at how fast technology had developed. What nonsense are you talking? Can you find a charging dock on me? Shili had just set up a table full of dishes when she heard Alton say this. Shili somewhat angrily walked to Alton's front, indignantly pinched his chin. As the first beast husband to marry me, shouldn't you know best whether I'm the real person or not? Whether it's really you, I'd have to verify personally, Alton said simply, and did even more simply. His large hand directly slipped into Shili's loose clothing. Shili couldn't help screaming. Red-faced, she burrowed into Heggie's arms. Seeing Shili so readily burrowing into Heggie's arms, both Alton and Jensen were very displeased. I wondered why you changed. Turns out you found new love. Jensen's tone was somewhat sour. The atmosphere gradually stiffened again. The food is getting cold. Quickly come to the table. Shili felt somewhat awkward. In her previous life, she wasn't good at getting along with boys, let alone dealing with so many men's relationships at once. Seeing the delicious-looking food on the table, they were all somewhat surprised, even suspecting if this was some new poison. Don't always drink those nutrient liquids. Good food is also a form of spiritual healing. Shili excitedly picked up a piece of braised pork and brought it to Heggie's mouth. Jensen. She didn't dare treat like this. That guy kept saying he would kill her, ranking first in danger. As for Alton, that so-called childhood sweetheart, intuition told her, people who always squint their eyes are definitely not good. Especially since the original host had tortured him for so long. His hatred probably wasn't less than Jensen's. Just that this guy was better at acting. She could only be close to Heggie now, seeking his help. Heggie looked at the braised pork near his mouth with an uneasy heart. Is this really not poisoned? Don't you dislike vegetables? This is pure meat. Shili was somewhat confused, couldn't help leaning forward more, instantly exposing a patch of snow-white skin to Heggie's eyes. Heggie only felt heat gradually spreading. You eat first, I'll take a shower. Saying this, he ran into the bathroom. Shili persisted, turning to offer to Alton. Alton looked and instantly understood, inwardly sneering, still a young wolf cub, not grasping such an opportunity and running away. If I eat this, can you give me mental comfort tonight? Alton didn't avoid, but began making conditions with Shili. Isn't mental comfort just organizing those yarn balls? Very easy, just a bit tired afterward, Shili readily agreed. Now it was Alton's turn to be shocked. Before he went to jail, Shili was very disdainful of giving beast husbands mental comfort. Even all females disliked it because it greatly consumed the body and could potentially make the body unable to cope. Alton confirmed again and simply swallowed that piece of braised pork, beyond being amazed by the taste. His eyes held an ineradicable invasiveness. Very delicious. 1,000,000 times better than the chef at the Tianzhou Institute. Hearing Alton's response, Jensen snorted, one after another kneeling and licking. He just didn't believe Shili could really cook. Directly picking up a piece of chicken and eating it, he then stared blankly at Shili. But words of praise just wouldn't come out. Alton picked up a piece of meat and brought it to Shili's mouth. She had been so busy she hadn't had a chance to eat. Now she was really hungry. So they strangely reached a consensus. No one mentioned previous grudges. Shili was thus fed by Alton, bite by bite. From childhood, Shili had never enjoyed such treatment. With delicious food in front of her and handsome men with firm muscles feeding her throughout the meal, it was truly a divine life. When making eye contact with Alton again, Shili couldn't help but blush. This man was so gentle now. Earlier she had a dirty mind, seeing everything as dirty, but he was clearly a super caring male mother. You're so nice, no one has ever fed me before. Seeing Shili's sincere eyes, Alton felt somewhat ashamed of his not-so-pure thoughts. After everyone ate their fill, Shili planned to clean up the dishes. When Jensen saw Shili voluntarily starting to clean up, he looked as if he'd seen a ghost. How could someone so lazy and moody voluntarily do housework? Then Jensen stepped forward and took over the heavy work. He couldn't attack Shili while other beast husbands were present. Otherwise, they would be implicated too. Now wasn't the best time. He planned to survive first and deal with her later. Let's go to the bedroom for mental comfort. Would you like to shower first or should I? Alton said. Does mental comfort require a shower? Shili didn't quite understand. Previously, when she provided comfort to Jensen, she hadn't showered. It's fine without one. Saying this, He picked up Shili with one motion and walked toward the bedroom. But just as they reached the doorway, they were blocked by Heggie coming out of the bathroom. You can't deceive the little female like this, can you? How am I deceiving her? This is what she agreed to herself. We're both men. Don't pretend you don't know what you're thinking. Shili was a bit confused, caught between the two men. Heggie's expression was very unfriendly, his posture unusually assertive, even trying to reach out and take her from Alton's arms. But the two men spoke as if in riddles, making it difficult for Shili to understand. What business is it of yours? What, just married a few days and she's already bought you? Alton retorted verbally, not forgetting to use more force, a battle imminent. In the blink of an eye, Heggie had gripped Alton's arm, attempting to use force to rescue Shili. Shili felt somewhat unstable sitting on Alton's arm. What's there to fight about? Wouldn't one person per day be fine? One person per day? You're thinking too simply. With your small frame, I'm afraid you couldn't handle it. Jensen suddenly flashed over from the kitchen. After I finished the mental comfort for you, I only slept until evening. Doesn't seem that difficult. I could even do 2 in one day, Shili said somewhat proudly. It seems the runaway system had left her with a rather useful skill. You gave me mental comfort, Jensen was very shocked, involuntarily grabbing Shili's wrist. He'd always thought it was his good luck that despite being in half-beast form, he could stabilize his emotions on his own. Now he couldn't believe that the proud Shili would condescend to use her body to comfort him. Because mental comfort was both physically and mentally taxing, even if some females did only physical comfort to save trouble, with females' weaker frames, it was still very challenging physical labor, not to mention pulling him back from the brink of complete beast transformation. Such comfortability might not be found in a few people across the entire Interstellar Federation. What? You gave him mental comfort? Now it was Heggie's turn to be shocked, firepower directly shifting to Jensen. You actually gave him mental comfort first. Alton's firepower also shifted to Jensen. I'm your first beast husband, shouldn't your first time be with me? The once composed mask of Alton finally cracked at this moment. What childhood sweethearts growing up together, though it was all true. But from beginning to end only he had been serious. Even knowing Shili still thought about that beloved one, Alton only felt that being married was good enough. At least he had a status. Feelings could be cultivated slowly. Now it seems it was all nonsense to fool a fool. Since when did such rules exist? Isn't it whoever has the ability gets it? Heggie was unhappy, following this logic, as Shili's last beast husband. Wouldn't he get everything last? Why should he be subordinate to these seniors and everything? Crack! Something seemed to break. Shili looked toward the sound and immediately covered her mouth. Alton was so angry that he had crushed the doorknob, and even the wall beside it had cracks. Seeing Alton exert force, Heggie wasn't to be outdone, reaching out to punch the wall. If it was about strength, he had plenty. Seeing the two males mysteriously starting to display their strength. Even though Jensen found such behavior somewhat foolish, his competitive nature made him join the contest. The house finally couldn't bear the weight, the ceiling directly collapsing on the position where several people were standing. In the neighboring villa, Bye was cuddling with her beast husband. Ferdinand was startled upright by such a loud noise. Bye couldn't help but become irritated, losing interest. Sometimes she envied Shili's 5 beast husbands, after all. Who wouldn't like being surrounded by different handsome men? The doorbell rang at this moment, looking through the terminal. There was Shili holding a pillow, standing outside with her 3 beast husbands. If not for Bye stopping him, Ferdinand would have really wanted to shut them outside, not only ruining his good moment, but also disturbing them at home. Bye, my house collapsed. Can we stay at your place for one night? Originally, Shili had planned to just make do for one night, but Heggie had work tomorrow, and the 2 half-beast men were in a vulnerable state. They needed a safe and comfortable place for spiritual comfort. Their villas were all distributed by the royal family after coming of age. Accommodating the 4 of them shouldn't be difficult. Bye and Ferdinand exchanged a glance, each with their own thoughts. Finally, Ferdinand got out of bed to open the door. Upon entering, Shili was very careful to keep her distance from Ferdinand. There are many guest rooms. One for each isn't a problem. I'll take you there. Ferdinand pretended not to notice Shili's distance, reaching out to snatch her special little pillow. Heggie beside them unceremoniously took back the small pillow. No need to trouble you, we'll be fine in the living room. Watching each other is safer, in case some people have impure thoughts. That won't do, you smelly men can sleep on the sofa. But my Shili must sleep in a bed? Bye also walked out of the bedroom. Her cool attire directly made Heggie and the others avert their eyes. Shili also couldn't help but swallow. She loved looking at beautiful women too. And she looked so soft to touch. Shili, sleep with me. We haven't chatted for a long time. Bye didn't mind their gazes. Instead, she pressed against Shili's arm, leaving Shili stunned, so soft. Not aloud, before Shili could agree, Heggie grabbed her arm. Shili, your beast husbands really care about you. Seeing Heggie so domineering, Bye naturally wasn't happy. She had no interest in having Shili sleep with her. She just didn't want Shili's beast husbands surrounding her like this. I heard the general is still working and taking care of home. It must be difficult. If only I could have such a beast husband, Bye said, as she moved closer to Heggie. That's because the wife allows me to work and realize my self-worth, Heggie said while hiding behind Shili. Shili saw through these little thoughts but couldn't help feeling gratified seeing Heggie's moral character. Bye. Seeing Shili's relationship with these beast husbands had somewhat improved, was very displeased. Clearly just a while ago she would often complain to her, and she could take the opportunity to select treasures from Shili's dowry vault. Shili still favors you the most. The other two, I see Shili has no intention of letting them go out to work. Half-beast people can't appear in public places. How could they work? It's already a great blessing that Shili keeps them at home. Bye smiled somewhat smugly, already anticipating these three men fighting. I don't mean that at all. Shili looked at Bye in shock. What happened to being good friends? I will try my best to provide mental comfort for you. And when you're out of the half-beast state, I'll let you choose whether to go out to work or stay at home. Don't listen to Bye's jokes. So mental comfort is only for those two, not for me. Before the others could react, Heggie was already irritated. No, it's just that your condition isn't as serious as theirs. If I have time, I will take care of everyone. Shili had a strong survival instinct, wishing she had 3 hands to hold on to each person. This Bye truly couldn't be underestimated. One sentence threw them into chaos. Who gets comfort tonight? Heggie didn't care about the rest. What's in his mouth is his. Shili was pulled towards him, falling into his broad chest. You certainly can't handle 3 in one night. Jensen crossed his arms with a mocking tone, waiting for Shili's choice. If Shili chose someone else tonight, he wouldn't mind finding an opportunity to steal her away. After all, she would die by his hand sooner or later. Otherwise, it wouldn't make up for the torture he suffered. Heggie, your situation is still okay. Alton's condition is more serious. Tonight should be him first. Jensen was temporarily not to be provoked. Better wait until a third person was present. Heggie wanted to speak but held back. Instinct made him want to monopolize Shili, but her choice made him have to obey. Otherwise, a charge of disobedience was enough to make him lose the job he had just regained. But before marriage, he had been tested. The high-intensity use of mental power and the development of his body made his mental power turbulence level close to the red line, which was why he agreed to marry. Then it seems we'll have to trouble Miss He for a guest room today. Alton said this while forcefully pulling Shili into his arms. There are many rooms, take your pick. Just don't tear down my house. Otherwise, even for Shili's sake, it won't work. Bye had been looking forward to watching the drama. But not only did she not see these beast husbands' disgust for Shili, but instead saw them all fighting over her, which was truly disappointing. Ferdinand's expression wasn't good either. He truly believed Shili and these beast husbands were in a state of rupture, which was what Shili had told him herself. But who breaks up and still acts so intimate? Even saying embarrassing things like 3 in one night. Alton didn't waste words, directly picking up Shili and walking towards one of the rooms. After placing her on the bed, Alton couldn't help asking his question, why choose me? It seemed among these beast husbands, if not for the elders' strong encouragement, Shili probably wouldn't have married a boring person like him. Except for being a bit cold, you're not so scary. Shili gently stroked those snake-like cold-blooded scales. She couldn't imagine how cool it would be to hug Alton while sleeping in the summer. As for why I chose you, is that important? I don't think I had other choices at the time. Aren't there the other two? You previously said you hated me the most, said if not for the elders' friendship, you would never marry someone like me who only thinks about experiments, and that you really hate snakes. What if I lose control at night and completely transform into a snake? Alton gently lifted Shili's chin with his finger. Heggie is temporarily normal. As for Jensen, I'm afraid he'll kill me. Shili wasn't lying. Alton and the original host were like an old married couple. The degree to which you two understand each other probably can't hide much. And I don't think you would kill me. Shili's certainty made Alton laugh self-mockingly. Those extra years I've lived compared to them weren't wasted. I wouldn't be as childish as Jensen, using such a clumsy method to kill you. I would lock you up and experiment on you, inject all kinds of drugs with effects I'm not even sure of, making you wish you were dead. The cold body temperature paired with the cold tone instantly made Shili feel as if she had fallen into an ice cellar. Then when you're fully recovered, how about going back to work at the lab? I'll wait for you to develop that drug you mentioned. Alton was stunned, looking at Shili in disbelief. Didn't you dislike me going out to work? Who are you really? Alton's hand gripped Shili's waist. Can't I suddenly realize things? I think it's good to go out to work. Shili lowered her eyes very nervously. You would have such an epiphany. Not afraid that when I return to the lab, the first thing I do is use venom on you. Alton spoke seriously, as if he had been waiting for this day for a long time. Aren't you afraid of your family being implicated? Shili was indeed somewhat frightened, shrinking back, but was grabbed back by Alton. Weren't they all killed by your family? Are you really pretending or have you really forgotten? Let's not talk about these useless things. I need to get rid of this appearance. Start the comfort. Actually, Alton was also very nervous. This was the first time a female was willing to give him mental comfort. But he had no idea how to do it, and each female's mental comfort might not be the same, because so far, no related materials or tutorials had appeared. It seemed this process was only passed between females. Beast husbands only knew what it was like after experiencing it. Alton was waiting for Shili's actions, countless images flashing through his mind. But there were no anticipated intimate actions. Shili just slowly embraced him, and they fell into deep sleep. Compared to Jensen, Alton's mental threads were more chaotic, and seemed to have developed aggressiveness. Each thread Shili touched sent needle-like pain through her fingers. After combing just a few, Shili couldn't help but collapse in the mine sea, gasping for breath, her arms aching terribly, both tired and in pain. But looking at that large, tangled mess, she had to grit her teeth and continue. In the end, she didn't know if she passed out from exhaustion or pain. Shili only knew that when she woke up. She was lying in a hospital bed again. Tentatively moving, she felt the soreness in her arms. "You're awake." Seeing Shili move, Heggie immediately came closer to check her condition, while pressing the call button for the doctor. "How long did I sleep this time?" Shili could anticipate that providing mental comfort to males would consume her physical strength, but she hadn't expected giving comfort to Alton would consume so much. Last time she had only felt tired. A day and a night already, we were all scared to death. Heggie's eyes were full of bloodshot and fatigue. The next day, they kept waiting for the two to come out of the bedroom. Finally, Heggie broke down the door, only to find both of them unconscious on the bed. What about Alton? Shili couldn't help but worry. Surely he hadn't been locked up again by the Protection Association because of this. Still thinking about him, he's in the next ward. Hearing Shili open her mouth and immediately ask about another man, Heggie felt this life was really frustrating. She didn't even care about him who had been watching over her here. Does the general get jealous? She had thought such successful people would be more emotionally flat. Thinking of this, Shili couldn't help but smile. "What jealousy? It's just because you're always in the hospital, forcing me to put aside work to take care of you." Heggie awkwardly turned his face away, but his earlobes were completely red. But what he said was also true. If the wife kept being hospitalized, it meant the beast husband wasn't taking good care of her. And for him, as a working beast husband, this was dangerous. "I want to compare the differences between him and Jensen. To better summarize experience for your comfort, Shili certainly wouldn't get angry over his awkwardness, even reaching out to stroke his chin. Don't touch randomly, he probably hasn't woken up yet, but the doctor says both of your bodies are fine. Then take me to see him." Shili was also somewhat afraid. If one time was this difficult, and if the effect was minimal, it would feel like a punishment. "He's tough as nails, won't die." Heggie forcefully pushed Shili back onto the bed. He was truly afraid now. This little female was really too much trouble. One day she would need to be tied up to be obedient. At this time, the sound of a growling stomach reached both their ears. Shili embarrassedly blushed. "Do we have to drink nutrient fluids in the hospital too?" Then looked pitifully at Heggie. "Private hospital rooms are basically the same as being at home. There's also a kitchen, just simpler." Heggie bit his lip. "You stay in bed, I'll prepare it and bring it to you. Don't get up and wander around." Seeing Shili obediently nod, Heggie ordered ingredients and headed to the kitchen. Following a commotion from the kitchen that startled Shili, who was gazing at the sky. The noise inside was no different from two people fighting. "Are you okay?" Shili looked puzzledly at the kitchen and asked. "Don't worry about it." Heggie was fiercely battling with kitchen utensils. Not long after, he came out with a tray, expectantly placing it on the bed table. Using a spoon to blow the soup cool, he brought it to Shili's lips. Only then did Shili notice that Heggie's fingers had some small cuts. "You didn't use that fruit knife to cut vegetables, did you? Aren't all knives the same? As long as it can cut things up, isn't that fine?" Heggie didn't mind these small cuts. Such minor injuries were nothing compared to his regular training. Shili drank the soup in one go, her expression immediately turning strange. But since this was Heggie's first time cooking, Shili still maintained a composed expression. "Not bad, you have talent." Hearing the praise, Heggie was overjoyed, couldn't help taking a sip from the bowl. But the next moment he spat the soup into the trash can. "My God, how did you drink this?" Holding the bowl, he was about to pour it out. But Shili quickly stopped him. "Someone's first time cooking. Of course I should be supportive. I'll finish this bowl." Saying this, she pinched her nose and gulped it down. She had to give Heggie face, and needed to build goodwill. These men all wanted to kill her. She could only start with the more approachable Heggie. Seeing Shili drinking and coughing, Heggie couldn't help but cup her face. "Are you really Shili? How have you changed so much?" Heggie spoke very seriously, making Shili feel guilty. "You know, no one has ever praised me like this. Not my commander, not my parents or relatives. It seems no matter what I do, it's never perfect enough. When you're better, teach me to cook." Saying this, he lightly pressed his forehead against Shili's, closing his eyes devoutly. The army uses suppressive management. Even though he had worked his way up to general, he couldn't escape the Federation's suppression. His family favored females over males, and was very dissatisfied with him and his brothers when they were young. "Looks like I came at a bad time." A sarcastic voice accompanied the sound of the door opening. The two quickly separated. Shili somewhat embarrassedly turned her head to look out the window. Heggie somewhat unhappily glanced at Jensen in the doorway, suspecting he had timed his entrance. "What are you doing here? Is Alton awake?" "Whether he's awake or not is none of your business, aren't you, brothers? Your brother is lying in a hospital bed while you're here flirting." Jensen was extremely displeased, really wanting to take Heggie outside for a fight. "I'm only considering you a brother. I haven't even met Alton before." When he married in, Alton was already in prison. The two had never met face to face. Just touching the little female, how is that like doing something sneaky? "I hate your lovey-dovey behavior the most. Don't come sicken people." Just thinking about that scene made him angry. "What are you saying? How could this be? What's wrong with liking to be close to my wife?" Shili at this point couldn't understand what these two were saying, and maybe it was better if she didn't understand anything. What if I say it? What are you going to do? Jensen stepped into the ward, looking like he wanted to fight in the hospital. Enough. Don't really tear down the hospital. Can our family afford it? Shili wasn't clear about Heggie's combat ability, but she had witnessed Jensen's destructive power. You're either truly stupid or pretending to be, not to mention Kyung-an and others' dowries. Just mine alone is enough for you to buy a small planet to live on. When it came to money, the little golden dragon prince had boundless confidence. Shili also connected with memories about Kyung-an that Jensen mentioned. He was the little prince of the mermaid clan from Halon Star. And indeed, the dowries of the two princes were enough to live comfortably for 100 lifetimes. Unfortunately, Kyung-an, before being driven mad by the original host, was taken back home under the pretense of the Mermaid Queen's birthday. Thinking of these things made Shili's scalp tingle. The original host's sins were truly too many to repay. But we can't cause big trouble for others. No fighting. Let's go see Alton first. Otherwise, I'll divorce the one who doesn't fight, and stay with the fighting one for life. Shili really had no other way. Sometimes men arguing were just like children. Such conflicts and relationships were hard to mediate. She couldn't play with one and then the other. The key was that those proud sunders might not even be willing to play. Compared to divorce, being locked up with Shili for life was far more terrifying. Jensen immediately behaved, coldly snorting and walking ahead. Seeing Alton sitting on the hospital bed with a decent complexion, Shili was relieved. But seeing Shili being carried in by Heggie again, his face darkened. Don't you have legs? Alton's tone was gentle, his smile kind, still elegantly wearing glasses. But Shili was chilled by his stare. The original host wasn't afraid of this type. But Shili was different. She was really afraid of such people. Because Alton always gave her the feeling of a supervising teacher, the type who would suddenly appear and catch students playing on phones during self-study. After comforting you, I had no strength left in my body. Thankfully, there was Heggie, otherwise I couldn't even come see you. Shili expressed her grievance. The seemingly calm Alton had already secretly gripped his medical record. The medical record truly showed his physical condition was much better than before. His mental assessment from the original near-complete Beast Transformation S class had dropped to the current class. Although it had only decreased by 1 level, he seemed to be the first case in the entire star rating, achieving this level with just 1 comfort. He couldn't help but feel that Shili was a living treasure. You look very spirited, not like someone with problems. Coming out of prison this time, he didn't know what was happening. He couldn't understand Shili's thoughts. Maybe Shili had a day of growing up. I do have a problem. Giving you comfort was extremely painful. Shili pouted angrily, but didn't dare get angry with Alton, because looking at that face, she didn't dare act up. Then you rest well. Don't continue giving me comfort in my current state. I probably won't fully transform before I die. Don't randomly come to the hospital in the future. Let's discharge now and go home. We have more important things to do. He had already asked former colleagues to intercept their medical records and examination results. These 2 records absolutely could not enter the terminal archives. Why, not only was Shili confused, Jensen and Heggie also hadn't reacted. Alton looked at the 2 with an expression like he was looking at idiots. A girl just coming of age. He didn't expect her to know anything. How come these 2 guys don't know either, idiots? We'll talk at home. Back home, Alton softened his tone. My mental assessment is now only A class. If the Federation finds out, Shili will probably be taken for experiments. As he spoke, Alton covered Shili's terminal on her hand. Whether this thing had a real-time monitoring system was hard to say. But if I really go to the Federation, I could help more males. Half-beast transformation must be very uncomfortable. Thinking of males suffering, Shili always felt somewhat distressed. Are you really an idiot? Even Jensen, who usually looked unfavorably at Shili, couldn't help but speak up. Let's say they let you comfort other males. They would definitely all be males about to transform and very dangerous. You gave comfort to Alton, who was conscious and cooperative, yet slept for a day and night. And it's not certain they would take you to give comfort. Jensen had lived in the complex royal court since childhood. The transactions and struggles between planets for benefits. The Federation suppressing all sides to balance powers. Those methods weren't clean. Just thinking about it made Jensen feel suffocated, truly not wanting to return to such an environment. Most likely human experiments. With such a female, the Federation would definitely want to mass produce. Heggie spoke more realistically. He had indeed heard commanders discussing when mental comfort could be done by machines. Soldiers were a high-risk group for mental power loss of control. But females' bodies were too fragile, simply couldn't withstand it. Shili couldn't have imagined so much, truly believing female status was untouchably high. Instantly frightened pale. Seeing the little female so scared, the 3 men tacitly dropped the topic. Shili originally wanted to comfort Heggie, whose condition was a bit better, that way she shouldn't get tired. But Heggie seriously refused. His current situation was actually fine. Seeing Shili about to say more, Alton directly grabbed her head. In seconds, she felt her eyelids heavy and fell into Alton's arms. Don't need to be so rough, Heggie, dissatisfied, took the already sleeping Shili. Do you have a better method? Hasn't he worried enough for this family? Even if he hated Shili, there was still a soft part from childhood in his heart. He really couldn't imagine what would happen to Shili, such a delicate little girl, if taken away by the Federation army. Afterwards, the men began cleaning up, first sending gifts to Hibai's family. After all, they had stayed overnight and then fainted, probably terrifying them. Also, none of the men could cook, and Shili wouldn't drink nutrient fluid, so they planned to go out and buy some food. But Jensen was impatient, plus in half-beast state, Alton was afraid he would cause trouble outside. If the other two went out, they wouldn't feel safe leaving someone who wanted to kill Shili alone with her in the same space. Alton looked at Jensen several times, indeed clearly seeing Jensen's micro-expressions, as he tried to suppress discomfort, and now the highest mental rating was probably him. Alton knew that feeling wasn't pleasant. Finally, it was decided that he would deliver the gifts and then buy things, leaving Heggie and Jensen at home to watch each other. But when Alton went to deliver gifts to Shili's good friend, another situation arose. At first, it was fine, just exchanging pleasantries. But as they talked, Alton felt something was off. Hibai had been coveting the various treasures from Shili's beast husband's dowries for a long time. Like Shili, having two princes at once was rare. Although Ferdinand was also a prince, his father wasn't favored, so the dowry wasn't much. Plus, now Shili's relationship with her beast husbands had improved. Hibai began to act up. "Since you're here, come sit inside." Hibai smiled lightly, even reaching out to pull Alton's sleeve. Alton refused while somewhat surprisingly dodging Hibai's hand, thinking there was definitely something fishy between Hibai and Shili. What kind of good sister would reach for her good sister's man? "Aren't you going to buy things? Why don't I take you? That way you don't have to queue." Recently, she had been considering whether to discuss with Ferdinand about taking another beast husband. Females' lives mainly depend on beast husbands' dowries and wages, so some females would marry many beast husbands. She also wanted to pursue a higher level of life. Looking at the jewels before her, Hibai herself hadn't visited those luxury stores for a long time. Alton refused firmly again. It was his first time being stuck to by a female this way. He was really not used to it, but because the other party was female, he couldn't say anything. So stingy with such a good figure, not even letting people admire. "Shili hasn't given you mental comfort, has she?" Seeing Alton wouldn't budge, Hibai dropped her act. She now really disliked Shili. "I can give you comfort, and you probably don't know about Shili and Ferdinand's previous relationship. Why would I only keep Ferdinand? It's because Shili would only marry Ferdinand. I wanted to be better than her in every way, so I took this man, and made him devoted to me." Saying this, she directly pulled Alton's tie. Alton looked at her in surprise. Just as Hibai was about to press herself against him, she was grabbed by the arm and pushed away. "Considering you have a terminal, otherwise you'd be lying on the ground now. And do you know my mental rating is S-class? With your ability, can you give me mental comfort?" Alton's face had completely darkened. It was already annoying enough that Heggie was sticking to Shili all day. Now there was also Ferdinand occupying the first love position. Today he came to deliver gifts out of Shili's friendship. Now he found the friendship was bullshit. If he didn't leave quickly, he would probably go on a killing spree here. Hibai was stunned. She saw Alton now looked like a normal person. Didn't rumors say S-class beast men should already be in half-beast state? What was Shili doing? How could she keep such a dangerous half-beast man at home? Then she suddenly realized what a dangerous thing she had just done. If Alton had lost control and really killed her, she could only accept her fate. The Female Protection Association wouldn't arrive in time. Alton returned home with a murderous aura, throwing down the packed food and shutting himself in his room, glaring at Heggie before going in. Heggie was bewildered, thinking he hadn't offended this senior. Until sunset, Shili finally woke up, just about to stretch. Her peripheral vision caught sight of something large lying beside her. Looking to the side, she got a big fright. "Why are you on my bed?" Shili jumped up from the bed, somewhat panikedly looking down at her clothes, fortunately still what she wore in the morning. Seeing Shili so alarmed, Heggie still felt somewhat wronged. "We're married and can't sleep in the same bed? Is she saving herself for some man?" All kinds of speculation filled Heggie's brain. "Can't I be here? No, I'm just not used to it." Shili really wasn't used to it. She hardly had any experience with men. Now suddenly having to deal with such a handsome guy, it was her strong self-control that kept her from getting a nosebleed. "That's good." Seeing Shili didn't seem so disgusted, Heggie felt relieved. Speaking of which, this was the first time the two had lain in the same bed since marriage. Heggie also couldn't help but blush, now that you're awake. "Let's get ready. Alton bought food from outside. I'll heat it up." "What about those two?" Still a bit worried about the other two. "Don't know. They've shut themselves in their rooms and haven't come out." Hearing Heggie say this, Shili put on her slippers and walked out of the room. These two men's mind-seas were very dangerous, and according to memory, their bodies had also been seriously injured before. Arriving at Jensen's room, it was pitch black, with nothing audible except heavy, rapid breathing. After turning on the light, Shili saw Jensen drenched in sweat, curled up in a corner of the bed, wrapping his body with the blanket. The dragon tail and dragon feet had appeared uncontrollably, and she could see the missing scales on the dragon tail, along with bloodstains. His condition was extremely poor. Jensen, she struggled to dig him out from the blanket. Seeing Jensen like this instantly made Shili's heart ache. In the original host's memories, Jensen was such a sunny little dragon before marrying into the family. How had he now been tortured into this state? With the Queen Mother's love for Jensen, he could have lived worry-free, and could even have remained unmarried. Thinking of this, Shili couldn't help but feel a lump in her throat, feeling sorry for the person before her. "Don't be afraid, I can save you. Please trust me." Shili was about to embrace Jensen, but was violently pushed away. Shili was momentarily stunned by the fall. She hadn't expected Jensen to distrust her so completely. Jensen had experienced comfort once. With significant effect, why would he refuse her this time? How could a vicious female like you, who takes pleasure in torturing beastmen, possibly have good intentions to comfort us? One set of behaviors before marriage, another after, and now you're playing a third set, truly 3 different routines. Jensen's roar directly stunned Shili. She couldn't explain. "I will heal you, trust me." "Heal? I only want to die with you now, get out." Jensen turned his head and covered himself with the blanket again, trembling as he suppressed his bloodthirsty instincts. "Then, do you still admit you once loved me?" The trembling Jensen was silent for a few seconds. "Didn't you marry me because of Ferdinand? What sweet talk you used then? I was truly a joke. Before it was because of him, but from now on I only want to heal you, just for you. When you're fully recovered, come find me to settle old scores." Saying this, ignoring Jensen's earlier rejection, she directly opened the blanket and crashed into Jensen's chest. Jensen only felt something soft against his chest. Shili had successfully entered his spiritual sea. With the experience from Alton, she first combed a few threads and then rested before continuing. This time, Jensen's spiritual threads also caused her pain. Her earlier guess was correct. The more severe the mental turbulence, the stronger the aggression of the spiritual threads. Shili withdrew from the spiritual sea before reaching her limit. She couldn't always pass out for a day. After comforting one person, she needed to pace herself, with small amounts done frequently being the method suitable for her human constitution. Looking at Jensen, who had fallen into deep sleep, he seemed much more docile. Looking at the wounds on his tail, Shili felt a chill. How cruel could the original host be to cause such severe injuries to the beast form? It's imaginable that Jensen's wounds at the time would have been even worse. She took out the home medical kit, simply bandaging the wounds, but judging by their appearance, they seemed to be new injuries layered over old ones. Additionally, it seemed Jensen had been repeatedly stimulating his wounds to maintain clarity, leading to delayed healing. But dragon scales weren't easily recovered. It was said that only the mermaid race, who also had scales, had special ointments that, with persistent use, offered a chance for scales to regrow. But the relationship between the original host and Kyung-an had deteriorated to the point of being known across 2 planets. Just thinking about having to court another beast husband for the sake of this one, Shili instantly felt overwhelmed. But before she could figure out how to pursue her husband, she was pinned to the bed by the little golden dragon who should have been sleeping. Shili widened her eyes in surprise. This wasn't right. Shouldn't Jensen be sleeping soundly? Perhaps because she hadn't exerted full effort this time, she could only make him sleep for a short while. "Since you say the words before marriage still count, shouldn't you fulfill your most important promise to me first? You promised to sleep with me first. You haven't broken your word, have you?" Shili's brain crashed at the question. "I don't think I said that." Before Shili could refuse, Jensen's forceful actions directly interrupted her words. Shili felt her heart racing wildly, so scared she couldn't control her body, couldn't even speak. Then a sharp pain came from her neck. "Does it hurt? Did you ever think about how I felt when you tortured me? I felt 1,000 times more pain than you do now." Jensen spoke with increasing dejection, trembling uncontrollably, the dual burden of mental and physical strain truly about to crush him. "Bite if you want, as long as it makes you feel better." While speaking, she gently placed her hand on Jensen's head. If a few bites could make Jensen feel better, her sense of guilt would also be somewhat relieved. Now it was Jensen who didn't know what to do. If it had been the previous Shili, she would definitely have gone crazy and then tortured him back even worse. If that were the case, he would have been prepared to die with her. But the Shili before him not only didn't blame him, but was comforting him, which made Jensen's formerly resolute determination to die waver. "I'm not interested in human flesh." Jensen slowly closed his eyes, tightly holding Shili in his arms. After some time, the smell of blood grew stronger. Jensen finally realized he hadn't treated Shili's wound. He quickly took out the medical kit and bandaged Shili. Looking at the wound, Jensen himself was frightened. If not for the spiritual comfort earlier, this bite might have pierced her shoulder. The now calm Jensen suddenly said, "In about 7 or 8 days, Harem Star will send envoys to visit. You should take Heggie with you then. You'll probably see Kyung-an." "Why haven't I heard anything about this? Shouldn't there be advance notice?" "I knew before you locked me up, but didn't want to tell you. Wanted to make you lose face." Jensen honestly told Shili his original thoughts. "Then why don't you go? You're a prince. Wouldn't it be more appropriate to take you?" Jensen pointed to his tail. "How could I go looking like this? I can't even retract these beast characteristics. Going out like this would probably make the people of Harem Star laugh to death. The sharp-tongued Kyung-an would certainly not spare him. I'll continue comforting you. You'll definitely recover. Look at Alton now. Isn't he quite human-looking?" After saying this, Shili became nervous. She absolutely didn't mean to insult Alton, but was afraid of being overheard. Alton's self-control was frighteningly like a fake person. Even in half-beast state, he'd never been seen to lose his temper. But he was just a normal person, even with emotions easily leaked. "We can try again," Shili said, about to comfort him again. But Jensen pushed her back. You'd better behave. With your small frame, what if you died? If you really have energy to spare, why not address your beast husband's physical needs first? Jensen's voice grew hoarse, scaring Shili into jumping straight up from the bed. I actually came to call you out for dinner. Clean up and come out quickly. She said this and hurriedly ran out. Seeing Shili's reddened little face, Jensen developed a sense of amusement. He was really curious what expression Shili would show in that matter. He wanted to tease her. With Shili's scent still lingering on him, he couldn't help but pull off his shirt and cover his nose and mouth, greedily breathing in the faint fragrance that remained. Jensen felt completely captivated by Shili, clearly wanting her dead so badly, yet time and again unable to go through with it. Thinking this, he irritably tossed aside the shirt in his hand. Everyone was eating quietly when Alton suddenly spoke. We seem to have a very important matter unfinished. What matter? Shili finished her juice, only to find all the beast husbands staring at her. Who sleeps with you tonight? The other two also looked at her. I can sleep by myself. Shili nervously swallowed repeatedly. The afternoon shock from Jensen was still vivid. She simply dared not think about it again. But if it stays this way, your terminal will remind you. You can also bring new males to our home. Let the new favorite stimulate the wife's desire to bear children, Alton said very seriously. What damn terminal? Even managing this kind of thing. What privacy does a female have? I'm not ready yet. Shili lowered her head, fiddling with the vegetable leaves on her plate with a fork. But our terminals have already sent us reminders. Alton showed the red alert message on his terminal. Heggie and Jensen also honestly opened that red warning. The Female Protection Association had given them an ultimatum. I can't just produce a child in a few days. This terminal really doesn't seem like a good thing. Yet everyone has one implanted from birth. Heggie couldn't stand it anymore, afraid Shili would be intimidated by Alton. So he said having children isn't mandatory. The terminal only needs to detect a male within 1 meter of you while you're sleeping. If that's the case, then today, Heggie. Before she could finish saying Heggie, Shili was intimidated by Alton's gaze. But Shili felt that apart from Heggie, she would have to sleep with one eye open with the other two. Sleep with me. If it's about having children, by seniority it should be me. As soon as Alton finished speaking, not just Shili, but Heggie and Jensen were also shocked. After these 2 days together, they all thought Alton was an easygoing, steady, reliable big brother, not expecting him to have such a possessive side. I don't want to. I'd rather sleep alone. In the daytime he could inexplicably make her faint. Without others present, wouldn't he just devour her alive? Also, with his understanding of the original host, she could easily be caught in a trap. She couldn't exactly say she was a transmigrator. In that case, Alton would probably take her for experiments as a research fanatic. You should develop feelings first. Besides, this kind of thing shouldn't force her. Heggie couldn't stand it again. He felt the current Shili was quite good, though they had past grievances. He hadn't caused any substantial harm. I've been taking care of her since she was little. Do we still need to develop feelings? You're comfortable saying that if her family forces had killed your entire family, could you be so pleasant to her? Now she wants to reconcile with me. Shouldn't I see some effort? Isn't this demand normal for regular couples? Though Alton's words were directed at Heggie, the purpose was to make Shili feel bad. He himself was very conflicted, wanting revenge but unable to harm Shili, wanting to forgive but unable to let go. In the end, Shili still couldn't get past her mental barrier, nodding in agreement. Heggie was still concerned, showing Shili how to use the alarm in the terminal. He felt Alton was really good at suppressing Shili, and feared she might truly encounter danger. Seeing Heggie demonstrate other functions of the terminal, Shili felt like a new world had opened up. This alarm wasn't in the original host's memories. It seemed this terminal needed further investigation. After dawdling for a long time, Shili finally walked out of the bathroom wearing pajamas. She usually wore nightgowns, but today specially took out pajama pants. Turn off the lights for bed. Shili pointed to the switch, indicating Alton should turn off the lights. But Alton flipped over, smoothly pinning her down. Do you really not want to have children with me? Alton asked very seriously. Maybe I'm just cold. Actually, I'm not interested in men. Sometimes I wonder if perhaps I like females. Shili panicked and spoke nonsense. It's not that you don't like men, it's that the man you like is unattainable in this life. Ferdinand is already married, and your heart died with that. What are you saying? The original host indeed still thought about Ferdinand, but now such thoughts were impossible. Ferdinand wouldn't dare go too far. If he Bye-Bye found out, she certainly wouldn't spare him. You're panicking, so you don't like any of us at all. All those excuses are just excuses. That's not the case at all. I just really don't feel anything. Bringing up old scores is simply impossible to resolve. I can make you feel something, then you prove it to me. Alton stared at her intently. Shili was frightened by his stare, her body involuntarily retreating. But Alton grabbed her ankle and pulled her back. Shili's rejection made him very upset. He had thought Shili comforting him meant she wanted to live well with him, but apparently not. He Bye-Bye would casually comfort outside males. Wouldn't Shili possibly do the same? Alton's head moved down along Shili's body. Shili instantly felt her body go numb. What are you doing? The pajama pants were no obstacle in his eyes, torn apart in an instant. The snake's cold touch against the warm place made her shudder violently, instinctively wanting to kick Alton away. But her thighs were firmly gripped. Shili couldn't bear such unprecedented stimulation. With the dark hair between her thighs, facing Alton, Shili could only cry and shake her head. This damn terminal. Doesn't it consider this behavior an attack on a female? Why no warning? Slower, I can't take it. This is just the tongue. Shili felt she was already exhausted, not daring to imagine what she would become if it went further. But Alton really did stop as told, raising his head to look at Shili playfully. The immense emptiness below rushed to her brain, making Shili involuntarily arch her body. Uncomfortable? Alton gently wiped away the tears from the corner of Shili's eye, just quietly watching her discomfort. He had planned this night for a long time, finally having the opportunity. Even if he couldn't get Shili to agree, he wanted to make her forever remember this feeling, irresistible. Shili felt her voice was somewhat whimpering. I should have chosen Heggie. At least he wouldn't bully me like this. The little female was extremely wronged, crying with tears. Though her face showed pleasure with an abnormal blush, her mouth called another man's name. Hearing the little female's sobbing voice, a strange sense of malice was strongly satisfied. Shili's entire body went limp, allowing Alton to take her to the bathroom for cleaning, naturally being mischievous throughout, again leaving her exhausted. Shili didn't even know when she fell asleep. She only knew that when she woke up, Alton was no longer beside her. She walked out of the bedroom dragging her feet. As soon as she came out, she saw Heggie about to go to work. Shili was tearfully jubilant. She didn't want this only normal person to leave. Facing Alton and Jensen simultaneously by herself was simply impossible. I'll be back as soon as possible. Heggie hadn't thought much, just assuming Shili was a bit reluctant to part with him, making him quite pleased. Watching Heggie get into the car, Shili felt very helpless. He had his mission. She couldn't say she wanted to keep him home because she was afraid of the two beast husbands at home. Even though Heggie would probably agree, Shili couldn't agree to do such a thing. No, must find something to do. Staying at home with these two men every day would eventually lead to trouble. Said and done, Shili immediately opened the terminal to research, indeed finding a recruitment hall. So the terminal was actually something similar to a phone, just more convenient to carry. She really did find a job recruiting females, but the job content was written very vaguely, seeming to be providing mental comfort to males, but without specifying exact job requirements or comfort recipients. Though the salary was extremely high, Shili couldn't help but click on the chat box. After inquiry, she learned this job was with a military direct special organization, with dangerous aspects requiring a face-to-face meeting. The meeting location was quite remote, making Shili even more reluctant to go alone. Just left and already missing your little husband, that was Jensen's sarcastic voice. Though today Jensen seemed to be in a better mental state, having groomed himself, looking very sunny and handsome. No wonder the Queen Mother favored him. Just standing there was enough to make one's heart flutter. Jensen had only gotten up this morning, realizing his head was much clearer, finally having the energy to groom himself. Will you always dress so handsomely in the future? Shili's eyes sparkled, praising generously. After all, Jensen rarely dressed up like this, truly a feast for her eyes. Instead, he became embarrassed, lightly snorting before preparing to leave. I have something to ask you. Could you accompany me somewhere sometime? I'm afraid to go alone. Shili quickly grabbed Jensen. He seemed to have even put on cologne. I'm free every day, as long as you don't mind me going out with dragon horns, he said, pointing to the dragon horns on his head. His tail had somehow already retracted, only the dragon horns remaining to show his dragon man identity. Shili naturally wouldn't mind, instead thinking two dragon horns were super cool. When Jensen excitedly saw the destination clearly, he was suddenly confused. In his understanding, those suburban small bars were full of crude elements, filled with violence and gray transactions. He'd never been. He didn't know what a little female like Shili wanted to do in such a place. Shili didn't know if Alton was home. If this guy found out, who knows what he would do. So mysteriously, she whispered in Jensen's ear, I found a job. Why work there when you could work anywhere? I just want to go. If you won't accompany me, I'll go myself. Shili just felt having a strong bodyguard would give her more confidence. Jensen was most vulnerable to Shili's pouting, immediately giving in. When do we leave? He really couldn't understand how such a cute little creature could have had such a hateful face before. Only after driving out of the house did Shili remember something. Is Alton not at home? Otherwise, why hasn't this guy shown up? He left early in the morning, in very good spirits. Seems he slept well last night. That Shili woke up at this time, while that guy was energetic. Jensen didn't need to think much to know what happened. Though you're also amazing. With Alton's build, I thought you wouldn't be able to get up today. Jensen started being sarcastic again. No, we're innocent. Shili's face turned bright red. Last night's memory entered her mind, but the two indeed hadn't gone that far. Then, does that mean he's not capable? Ha ha ha, I was wondering, so that's how it is. Don't laugh, it's not what you think at all. Don't speak ill of Alton, otherwise I'll divorce them and stare at you all day. She hadn't realized this guy had such a cheap personality. The two chatted and bantered all the way, finally stopping in front of a small bar. As soon as they got out, they smelled the strong alcohol. Shili contacted the recruiter, and soon an attendant respectfully walked out. Beautiful miss, please follow me. Shili said nothing, just following behind. Jensen also quickly followed. This place was filled with various chaotic smells, making him feel somewhat nauseous. The two were led to a door resembling a hotel room, but very secluded. The attendant left without looking back, completely lacking the usual male attentiveness toward females. This attitude made Shili more curious about what this job entailed. Should we really go in? I feel there's something strange about this place. Jensen felt it resembled a scam group's location. Of course we should go in, can't you protect me? Shili had witnessed Jensen's attack power. Bringing him was quite reassuring. Shili directly reached out and pushed open the door. A man was sitting in a chair not far away, facing away from them. Seeing the person's hair, Shili felt somewhat familiar. It seemed the original host's memories also included such silver hair. The door was closed by an invisible force. Jensen quickly pulled Shili into his arms, warily watching the silver-haired man slowly stand up. Look who it is, what little cat has crawled out of where? The familiar voice made Shili struggle to raise her head, looking at the silver-haired man in surprise. Brother? This shout directly stopped Jensen, who was preparing to fight. This person before them was the legendary brother. But looking repeatedly, Jensen saw this white-haired person didn't resemble Shili at all. Since when did you start calling me so affectionately? Is this your beast husband? Shi Jian didn't have the same joyful expression as Shili. Shili only belatedly realized this wasn't her relative at all. It turned out Shili's original form was adopted by the original host's family. Shi Jian had gone crazy because his family didn't approve of his marriage to Shili, directly slaughtering the entire family, to the point where Shili still couldn't understand how he could be so insane. Weren't you on the run? Why are you here? This had been a major incident. Shi Jian had no choice but to flee for his life. But before the arrest warrant was issued, he didn't forget to take the original host and force her to get a marriage certificate. So Shi Jian was actually the original host's second beast husband. You don't care how I'm doing, but ask why I'm here. Truly hurts my heart. He hadn't expected Shili to come, only confirming it was her after smelling the familiar scent when she came closer. I do care. You just startled me. Recalling the scenes in her mind, Shi Jian's ferocity was no less than the others. Shili's coquettish tone directly softened Shi Jian's heart, originally planning to teach his fickle sister a lesson, but now had no such intention. It's brother's fault. You've grown even more beautiful in this year apart. Shi Jian walked step by step closer. Completely ignoring Jensen, who was holding Shili, he forcefully took her away, cupping her little face. Are you still a fugitive now? Shili was still somewhat nervous. Even Alton could see her abnormality. So Shi Jian, who had raised her from childhood, wouldn't more easily see she was no longer the original Shili? Of course not. I earned merits. The Federation has already pardoned me, just that the achievements are confidential, not publicly announced. Haven't you noticed my arrest warrant disappeared long ago? He had thought Shili would always pay attention to this matter. Unexpectedly, the arrest warrant had been gone for so long, and she still didn't know. Seems Shili's thoughts were no longer on him at all. So what do you do now? Shi Jian now seemed like a recruitment officer, recruiting people through recruitment software, working for the Federation, recruiting females to provide mental comfort to some beast-transformed males. You shouldn't consider this. He's still in beast form, and also cooperating with our army's males to explore new energy planets. As soon as Shi Jian finished speaking, he saw Shili's eyes suddenly light up. Seeing her expression, Shi Jian directly said seriously, "Don't even think about it. These require very high mental comfort abilities from females. You should go home quickly, it's not peaceful here. After this mission concludes, I'll come home." Although Shi Jian very much wanted to return home with Shili now, it wasn't time yet. Then changing the subject, "But if you really miss me, you can let this interfering guy wait outside first. We can have some intimacy." Shi Jian narrowed his eyes, smiling sinisterly. Hearing this, Jensen immediately objected. "How am I interfering? She's your sister. What are you doing as a brother?" Since marrying Shili, things hadn't been just outrageous, but increasingly more so. "Darling, you tell him what relationship we have. He's my second beast husband. We're not biological siblings. I was adopted by his family." Shili simply summarized their relationship. Jensen's brain was severely overloaded for a moment. Who would abandon females these days? So he wasn't the brother, but a senior? This little female's life was truly colorful. "And our relationship is very good, isn't it, darling?" Saying this, Shi Jian gripped Shili's cheek, kissing her earlobe. He didn't kiss her face or lips, but specifically went for the most ticklish spot, directly making Shili blush and lower her head. She also felt something liquid at the tip of her nose. "Damn, you're bleeding from the nose." Jensen was the first to notice the bloodstain hanging from Shili's nose tip, quickly lifting her head. "Have some dignity. Last night you were with Alton in the room. I didn't see the bedroom flowing with blood." Jensen was truly exasperated, but also envious of Shi Jian, so Shili just liked him, feeling nothing for the rest of them. While Shi Jian laughed brightly, unhurriedly taking a tissue to wipe Shili's nosebleed. Previously, his sister had been indifferent to him, probably agreeing to marry only out of fear he would kill her in anger. Now she seemed more interesting. While Shili wanted to find a hole to crawl into, she didn't know why she had a nosebleed. It was really embarrassing. But Shi Jian seemed to have captured something more crucial. "What did you and Alton do last night?" Shi Jian had always been at odds with Alton. From childhood, he felt this neighbor boy had ulterior motives toward his hard-earned adopted sister. Nothing. Originally wanted to give him mental comfort, but he thought I'd been doing it too frequently and refused. Saying lies came naturally to the current Shili, feeling that in dealing with these men, sooner or later, she wouldn't even blush when lying. Shi Jian was somewhat disbelieving, suspiciously glancing at Jensen, who was watching the drama. This guy's angry tone just now was quite strong. It probably wasn't a lie. Then I must verify. Little liars must be punished. Before Shili could react, 2 buttons of her top were opened. Numerous intimate marks with faint red impressions were exposed to both men's vision. Though 2 buttons were far from revealing anything, Shili felt as if she was completely naked. This was completely finished. Girl, you're playing quite wildly. Shi Jian instantly exploded in anger. If he had known, he would have killed Alton along with the others back then. It's really not what you think. Alton respected me in the end. I feel we need more time together. No matter whether he respected you or not, I can kill him first. Then we'll settle accounts. Shi Jian, though also quite obsessive, had one reassuring quality for Shili. When jealous, he killed the lover first, rather than attacking her directly. In Shili's eyes, his danger level ranked second. Don't always be killing and fighting. Be careful of beast transformation. Or do you have other females in your organization comforting you, seeing the situation uncontrollable? Shili immediately turned the tables. Heaven knows, I've always relied on strong willpower. No female dares comfort me. Shi Jian indeed panicked. That's what you say, I don't care. You need to show me your so-called new energy. Otherwise, who knows if you're a scammer in the green industry. This is a hidden small hotel, possibly conducting some kind of black business. Shili felt increasingly fluent, even feeling like the woman abandoned by a scumbag. The barrage left Shi Jian somewhat unprepared, momentarily speechless. In his impression, his sister always had a proud appearance, like she knew everything, but was actually adorably silly. Now being so articulate made him feel somewhat unfamiliar, but perhaps more attracted, more eager to quickly return home and stay with Shili every day. All right, but you must keep it secret. Shi Jian nodded. Jensen, completely ignored throughout, was very displeased, but also curious about what the so-called new energy was. He could only watch patiently. Shi Jian extended his hand, which gradually developed a faint light, then gradually turned into a flame. Shili amazedly wanted to look closer, but Shi Jian quickly withdrew it. This is real fire, it will burn you. Seeing Shili's amazed expression pleased him greatly. Shili grabbed Shi Jian's hand that had just produced fire, but found the temperature was normal. Jensen also watched curiously from the side, but didn't dare speak, fearing that opening his mouth would make them realize there was an extra person and immediately drive him out. You can understand it as a kind of special ability, an ability that can be used in human form. What we're doing now is searching for core chips that can stimulate internal abilities. The more core chips absorbed, the stronger the ability. He didn't mind Shili knowing his capabilities. Showing off his strength more would firmly attract Shili. Then can I participate? He was volatile, and I comforted him. Don't look at the dragon horns now. I've only comforted him twice. Before Shili could finish, Jensen covered her mouth, indicating she shouldn't say too much. He was somewhat concerned that if Shili disclosed everything, this so-called brother might have other private intentions, possibly directly offering Shili to the Federation for his own promotion. Only 2 comfort sessions. Shi Jian didn't notice these 2 small movements, just shocked by the statement. Just 2 comfort sessions could achieve this level. Then Shili was quite powerful too. Shi Jian promised to save core chips for Shili, striving to let her awaken abilities too, but letting Shili do such dangerous things was absolutely not acceptable, and such missions were always male-female paired. Just thinking about Shili having to continuously comfort other males during the process, Shi Jian couldn't accept it. Shili pouted unhappily. She didn't want to be a woman kept by others. Shi Jian added, "It's not just a test for you. Our organization's females are basically human wave tactics, unless you want to take new beast husbands." Shi Jian's hand was almost on his knife again. As far as I know, Heggie is already her 5th beast husband. Jensen enjoyed watching the drama unfold, directly hitting Shi Jian's most painful point. What? Shi Jian's face instantly darkened. He had thought there was only Jensen added. How long had it been, and she'd found 3 more beast husbands, if not for those beast husbands actively pursuing her? Shi Jian wouldn't believe Shili could find so many at once. In his impression, his sister was so shy. Now even seeing him made her nose bleed, still incredibly pure. Although 5 beast husbands wasn't a huge number compared to other females, in Shi Jian's eyes it was heaven. Are you saying those males seduced you? The question directly confused Shili. She didn't know how to define this seduction. Maybe yes, maybe not, as the original host also played around quite a bit. This Shi Jian before her seemed to have a very incorrect understanding of his sister. Calm down. Let's talk about work first. I want to join this job and have the ability. Trust me. Although Shi Jian was very angry facing Shili's intervention, he still suppressed his emotions. I don't believe you. Let me prove it to you. Shili directly hugged Shi Jian's head. Jensen beside her was also curious how Shili gave him comfort. It seemed each time he was hugged and lost consciousness. When he woke again, his spiritual sea was much more stable. Jensen silently stood guard. Looking at the 2 suddenly collapsed on the ground, he bit his lip and tossed them onto the bed. Strangely, Shili's comfort method seemed different from what he'd heard. According to his father, when the Queen Mother comforted him, it seemed to involve the body. Anyway, it was very comfortable. Although Shili's comfort afterward was also very comfortable, Jensen just felt something was different. At least this kind of comfort wouldn't result in children. Could each female's comfort method be different? Jensen was full of questions, deciding to ask his father next time they met. Shili entered Shijian's spiritual sea, which was relatively stable, but also had many spiritual threads tangled together. Shili combed them one by one. But in the tangle she saw many things like fluffy tails. Thinking of Shijian's beast form as a fox, could what was trapped inside be a nine-tailed fox? Thinking this, Shili quickened her pace, but due to the rapid decline in physical strength, thinking she would need to negotiate with Shijian later, she could only choose to withdraw. Opening her eyes again, she met Jensen's intense gaze. Startling Shili, earlier she had been so focused on showing off, forgetting there was a vigilant Jensen in the room. If Jensen had delivered a fatal blow while she was asleep, wouldn't she be finished? A few seconds later, Shijian also opened his eyes. How did you do that? Shijian clearly felt his comfort, even controlling fire felt stronger than before. It seemed Shili's comfort not only made the spiritual sea clearer, but could also enhance abilities, making his desire to monopolize Shili stronger. Looking at Jensen staring at them, Shijian felt like he was looking at a corpse. Perhaps it's innate, but my physical strength is too poor, can't do too much at once. Shili's little face was covered with fatigue, her lips turning somewhat pale and dry, making Shijian's heart ache. Indeed, comfort was too taxing for females. You can join us, but you must follow the work plan I arranged for you. Can't be reckless or force yourself. I'll be with you for every team assignment. Shijian fondly stroked Shili's lips, his eyes full of undisguised desire. Having held back for so long, he couldn't resist, directly kissing her. Shili froze, seeing the handsome face rapidly approaching. Only when a soft sensation touched her lips did she react, wanting to push him away, but was held tighter. Jensen felt his eyes were about to go blind. What kind of person was this? Just coming and snatching people. He hadn't even kissed her yet. This brother-in-law kisses right away. How could he endure this? Before Shili could react from this heated moment, her shoulders suddenly felt heavy. Jensen forcefully pulled her from Shijian's arms and immediately planted fierce kisses on her lips. Shili was left dizzy from the kisses, already weak after providing comfort, and now being pulled back and forth in this extreme sport. She truly couldn't handle it. Now she only felt her breathing becoming heavier, her mind even replaying what Alton had done, her body involuntarily tensing, fearing that feeling of losing control. With two men before her now, she was even more nervous. Stop, both of you, Shili finally called for a halt before things got worse. Though both men were reluctant, they were still obedient, stepping back to give Shili breathing space. Darling, you're so biased, having other beast husbands and forgetting about your brother. Jensen spoke more directly. I'm also your beast husband, if Alton can. We should compete fairly. I think his technique isn't good.